To the UK, Britons are heading to the polls to choose a new government today, and it could be the end of 14 years in power for the Conservative Party. The opposition Labour Party is widely projected to return to power with a landslide victory. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's Conservative Party is urging voters not to hand the Labour Party a super majority, claiming that they will do, quote, lasting damage to the country and economy. Polling stations close at 10 p.m. local time, and that is 5 p.m. Eastern time. It's yet another election, this time across the pond, that will have an impact here at home. Our Parliament Hill correspondent Glen McGregor joining us now. Glen, hello to you. So what would a new government mean for us?
Well, I think it could be an interesting example for Canadian politics. I think a lot of folks here in Ottawa are going to be watching closely those results coming in this evening or 5 o'clock Eastern time when the polls close in the UK and we start getting the first exit poll results to see which way it's going. Everything's looking like this is going to be a landslide win for Labour. And you would think for a Liberal government that is more aligned with the UK Labour Party than it is with the Conservatives, that would be good news, but maybe not necessarily. We've seen in Europe and elsewhere around the world a kind of a tilt of the political landscape towards the right. The fact that you get a more center-left party winning in the UK, you think that maybe suggests there's a reversal of that trend, and that would be good for Justin Trudeau and his Liberal Party. But it's looking very much like this is more of a reaction against an incumbent government from people who are unhappy in the UK about some of the same kind of issues that voters are unhappy with here in Canada. That is the high cost of living, the inaccessibility of healthcare, immigration as well, another big issue in that election campaign. So we'll see what that ultimate result is and whether there are any real lasting lessons for Canadian politicians. We think if Keir Starmer, the Labour Party leader, leads his party to victory, he will have a meeting with the King on Friday, and the King, Charles, would ask him to form a government. He'd become Prime Minister right away. And then, very likely, our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, would make a congratulatory phone call to him on Friday. And they would also have a chance to meet face-to-face again. They have met previously. Starmer was here in 2023 in Montreal for a convention, and Trudeau and he had a private chat. But they will also have an opportunity to meet next week because Trudeau's flying to Washington, D.C. for a meeting of leaders of NATO countries. And Starmer, as the new Prime Minister of the UK, would come attend that. So they would very likely have maybe a bilateral one-on-one meeting or possibly just a more informal chat called a pull-aside. But all eyes then, again, looking towards 5 o'clock this afternoon, see exactly if those public opinion polling results hold and elect a Labour government, Faiza.
And Glenn, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau also has his eye on another situation, this one unfolding in Lebanon. He's set to chair a meeting today to discuss that topic.
Yeah, that's right. It's the Incident Response Group. This is kind of a high-level cabinet subcommittee with some senior bureaucrats and intelligence officials. They meet to deal with kind of unfolding crises around the world. So they're going to meet to talk about the situation in Lebanon, which is getting worse and worse. Hezbollah, which is a designated terror organization that has backing from Iran, firing more rockets into Israel today, and we expect further retaliation. So this situation is getting very desperate, especially in southern Lebanon. Last month, Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly warned Canadians who are in Lebanon that they need to get out of there and come home as quickly as possible while they still can. There are still commercial aviation operating into and out of Beirut, so they still have an opportunity to fly out. The meeting today between Trudeau and the Incident Response Group suggests that the government is considering some other options if that is no longer available. And it brings to mind, of course, the 2006 war in Lebanon, in which Canada had to use a sort of essentially a naval flotilla to get Canadians out of Lebanon. We think there are about 30 to 40,000 Canadians who are currently in Lebanon right now. Some of them may have heeded Joly's advice and gotten out of Dodge while they could, but many are still there and could potentially be in jeopardy if this war escalates even further. So we're going to see what Trudeau says coming out of this meeting. Is there going to be any plans for an official evacuation? Are the Canadian forces going to be involved as they were back in 2006. It was expensive. It cost the government a lot of money. And there's a lot of kind of repercussions of that. There was a lot of concerns about Lebanese who were people who had Canadian passports but were living permanently in Lebanon, getting brought to safety at the expense of the Canadian government and then returning back. Remember, we had this whole debate about citizens of convenience, something the Harper government, which was only then in its first year in power, had to deal with. So we're going to see what Trudeau says about this, whether or not there are any plans for either a naval or an air evacuation of Canadians who are still there now, and who would pay for that. Would they be required, people who were there taking advantage of that, would they be required to pay for themselves? That's all kind of up in the air right now, and we're going to watch over the next couple hours to see what the government says, what their plan is, Faiza, for getting Canadians out of Lebanon.
Okay, Glen McGregor in Ottawa. We'll check back with you later on with updates. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Faiza.